Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and this episode we're going to do Walking in Memphis from CWA from September 23rd, 1989. The link to the show will be down here in the description, so definitely check it out once you watch this, or check it out first and then come back to watch this, however you'd like to do that. But let's jump right into it. We grade everything here on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is the worst, 5 is the best. First up, we get Ronnie B. Gossett introducing Spike Huber, who's his charge at the time, going up against Tim Hall. Now, as you can see, by the fact that there's no picture of Tim Hall here, and there's a picture of Spike Huber, this is basically a glorified squash match. Pre-match, Spike Huber says he could beat this guy in less than a minute. He beats Hall in 46 seconds. Though it was decent, not enough for me to do anything. Spike Huber had something, but I don't think he never went on to be anything more than just a guy with potential. I'm giving this match a 2. It was okay, but really there wasn't nothing to write home about. A 46-second match with some suplexes and slams, not really much. Next up, we get Buddy Landau versus Freezer Thompson. Kind of interesting. I believe it was, if I'm right, it was William the Freezer Thompson. They just called him Freezer here. Interesting because Refrigerator Perry was a big football star at the time, and Buddy and Freezer would get that name. I never put 2 and 2 together when I seen Freezer before this. Freezer was more of a quote-unquote, even though he was an enhancement talent, he was a more regular talent. Buddy is absolutely fantastic. Buddy Landau kind of gets hampered by the fact that he's the third most famous Nature Boy, behind Nature Boy Buddy Rogers and obviously Nature Boy Ric Flair. Also hampered by the fact that there was a guy, no knock on Buddy Rogers or Buddy Landau, I do apologize. No knock on Buddy Landau, but there was no one on Ric Flair's level at this time. He's hampered by the fact that his gimmick is basically Ric Flair, and Ric Flair is doing it at a much higher level than anybody else has ever done it at. So, Buddy kind of gets forgot with time. This was a really solid match. I enjoyed it. Buddy picks up the win here. I'm giving this match a 4. Like I said, aside from the fact that he could be seen as like a Dollar General version of Ric Flair, which I hate to even say that, because Buddy Landau deserved to be his own thing and deserved to be looked at as someone that was a fantastic wrestler on his own merits. It's just unfortunate. It would be like there being another guy wearing red and yellow calling himself Hulk something. It just wouldn't work. I digress. After that, we get an interview with Jerry the King Lawler, who's talking about the aforementioned Buddy Landau. Recently put up a limousine in a match for Lawler's championship. We see Alan Smith, who owns the limo company, comes out and says that it was a rented limo, and by the way, he never even got paid. Which brings us out to Buddy Landau, who's arguing with him. Spike Huber comes back out. They jump on Lawler. The faces of the Rock and Roll Express, Dustin Rhodes, and Texas Dirt, who is Dutch Mantel under a mask, come out to run it off. Again, any segment with Jerry the King Lawler in this run in Memphis is going to be gold. He's absolutely one of the greatest talkers of all time. I'm giving this segment a 5. I thought it was really solid. Next up, we get the Wild Side, which is a team of Chris Champion and Mark Starr. And as you can see again, by the fact that their opponents TD Steel and Big O do not have pictures over here, it's a glorified jobber match. Now, I do remember both these guys, TD Steel and Big O. I just couldn't find any pictures to go with them. This was a good match. Champion and Mark Starr kind of wrestled like the Rock and Roll Express did, kind of like the Rockers did, had a very similar gimmick. I want to say they were a heel version, though. If I remember correctly, and if you watch back in the time, I might be crazy on this, but didn't they come out to the Motley Crue song Wild Side? They didn't do it here, but it may have just been this recording that they didn't do it. But I want to say they did come out for it. If you remember that and they did, let me know in the comments if I'm right, because I want to say they did. Anyway, I digress. The Wild Side team picks up the win. I'm giving this a 3. A solid match, a good way to showcase their talents. I really enjoyed this. Now, coming up next is our quote-unquote name versus name match. We get a very young Dustin Rhodes and superstar Bill Dundee going up against the Blackbirds, who are Brickhouse Brown and Iceman King Parsons. I recently did a review of a world-class show and talked about how much I enjoyed Iceman King Parsons. This was a good team. I enjoyed them. It came off of Parsons was helping the Freebirds, and then they went heel and became the Blackbirds. At the time, I believe World Class had already switched over to being called USWA, and they were working with Memphis. I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a solid match. Dustin and Bill Dundee pick up the win here by DQ when Boss Winter comes out with a ether-soaked rag, or gives a rag to Brickhouse Brown, who sprays it with ether, which I believe they use starting fluid for that, and knocks the faces out, which brings out Jamie Dundee, very young Jamie Dundee. I think he was 18 here, who would go on to be JC Ice, either 17 or 18, I might be wrong. I believe they said he was 18 though on commentary. Who'd go on to be JC Ice as part of PG-13. He gets ethered too. They put a dress and lipstick on him on an ongoing thing that they're having a feud with him. So that was a neat segment altogether. Basically, you continued your feud with the Dundees and the Blackbirds. You had Dustin Rhodes, which anytime I can see Dustin Rhodes, I'm going to be happy to do it. I'm giving this a 4. I thought it was really solid. Really good way to advance the feud and to highlight these talents. Now next up we get the aforementioned Rock and Roll Express teaming with Texas Dirt, aka Dutch Mantel, and Nightmare Freddy. And a lot of people talk about the gimmicks that Memphis used back in that time. Nightmare Freddy was a blatant ripoff of Freddy Krueger being played by Doug Gilbert. It was kind of neat. I mean, it was what it was. He kind of played it. If you could think about, he played it more as a zombie, so he was more, I would say he was more Jason than Freddy in the portrayal. But again, I digress. They're going up against Don Harris, which I believe is the same Don Harris that would go on to be a Bruise Brother and one of the disciples of Apocalypse. But it was kind of hard to see because he had blonde hair in this, and he didn't have any of the tattoos as of yet. I was looking for, and I hate to say this, but the Harris brothers have some really offensive tattoos. If you know, you know. And that's what I was looking for as a way to determine him. I didn't remember Don Harris ever having blue hair. He kind of looked similar in the face. Can't confirm it was the same guy, but at least it was someone under Don Harris. Tagging with the two Keiths, Keith Eric and Keith Robertson, and Rooster Cogburn, which if I got my westerns right, I believe Rooster Cogburns was a character on True Grit. I might be wrong. I know the name. It's a name from an old western movie. Anyway, again, as you can see, there's a team up here where we have pictures of the Rock and Roll Express, Texas Dirt, and Nightmare Freddy, but not of the other guys. Again, another enhancement talent match. This was a solid match. The Rock and Roll Express team, Texas Dirt, and Nightmare Freddy pick up the win here. I'm giving this a solid 3. I thought it was good. Again, a nice way to enhance the guys you had on here. That's why you had enhancement matches. I know it's kind of weird looking back in 2022. This is 33 years ago at this point, almost 33 years ago. So it's kind of weird looking back and seeing these enhancement matches, but some of these enhancement guys really helped advance these storylines and advance the wrestlers going forward. The whole point was to get you to buy a ticket to go see CWA Memphis Wrestling whenever it came to your town, or go down to the Monday night matches. I believe at this time they were still running every Monday night in Memphis, which is amazing. They ran the same town every week and were sellouts more often than they weren't. So that's just a testament of how great the show was. Afterwards, we get a Bill and Jamie Dundee interview to close out the show. Again, I thought it was solid. A solid show. A lot of what I would say enhancement matches. My favorite match of the night is the Buddy Landau Freezer Thompson match. I enjoyed the Dustin Rhodes, Bill Dundee, and Blackbirds match. It's probably my second favorite. I enjoyed the story of that. I love any time you give a microphone to Jerry Lawler in this time frame. Once we got past the Attitude Era and Jerry Lawler became a character of Jerry Lawler, it's not fun to watch anymore. But it's fun to watch this guy who is absolutely on top of his game and one of the best talkers in the history of wrestling. All in all, I thought this was a very enjoyable show. I'm going to give it a solid 3. It was fun to watch. It wasn't as good as the first one we watched last week, but still good. I would definitely recommend checking it out, especially for the time capsule. Seeing what was going on in Memphis at the time, you could kind of already see, and this is not a knock to anybody on the show, that the level of talent there wasn't what it was in the Jim Crockett promotions. It wasn't what it was in WWF at the time. The two big companies were taking off. AWA was on its dying end. World Class was either dead or dying by this time. So you're kind of see where the top tier talent's already gone on to be in Jim Crockett, which would turn into WCW right around this period, or WWF at the time. So there was a little bit of a discrepancy. But anyway, with that being said, the talent that wrestled here, pretty good, pretty fun show. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I would recommend going back and checking it out. But that's my opinion. Again, down here in the description, there's going to be a link to the video where you can watch the same YouTube video that I watched to review this. I definitely recommend checking that out. If you made it this far, hit the like button. Throw me some comments down here. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And if you watched all the way to the end here, I know last week I said I gave a yes or no. If you watched to the end here, give me a JC Ice for the future Jamie Dundee here. Because I like PG-13. I think they're cool. And Jamie Dundee's a fun shoot interview subject if you ever catch those. He's very unhinged. But anyway, my name is George Coles. This has been my review of CWA Wrestling from September 23rd, 1989.